You need a great opener, like somehow we're adults. Do.
We can record that right
some
now.
Kind of like
we can record that right now.
Everybody be quiet.
Somehow we're adults.
So I was thinking about the topic for this podcast, and it reminded me of how a lot of people who go into serious relationships always try to have like a plan B per se. So they'll do like their finances separately, or they'll have like well, I'll keep like X, Y, and Z just in case like this doesn't work out. And then just like the idea of just going into a relationship with that like just in case like rainy plan.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be like detrimental to a relationship if you go in with that mentality kind of thing.
Yeah, you have to approach a relationship with 100% effort. You can't be doing 90% effort and then 10% effort into something else too if you want it to work. I mean, you have to be, the till death do us part thing is like legit,
And even after that, you better choose me after death.
Right?
I was telling him, you ever marry and because I die.
If I ever remarry.
Yeah, you just have to know that if we make it to heaven or whatever there is, you better pick me up before her.
Yeah, we both. Yeah, exactly right.
My only ask.
Yeah.
You can do what you want when I'm gone.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a strange thought pathway, but it's I get it. No, I think it's important too because like I'm like there's no other options. It's like make this work or nothing else. Like I've told you before, like. We'll live under the highway if we have to, as long as it's you and I. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how. I mean, I understand bad financial situations could happen where you have creditors up your neck and all that stuff too. And it's like, well, wouldn't you want that human connection with that person still? It's like, you can still build on top of it. You know what I mean? As long as, like, to me, our relationship is like a foundation. You know what I mean? Like our relationship now is like in my opinion, is like a big, nice house. Metaphorically speaking. But if for some reason if we stopped working on the house and it started to degrade around us and falling apart because we were giving our effort to something else, metaphorically speaking, if it was just the foundation, which is just me, you, being together. Like, that's better than nothing. That is perfect. Like, that's what we need is the foundation. So
I feel like that foundation gets messed up when you go in already having this thought in your head, well, I'll do this just in case, or I'll have this just in case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the combining finances thing that you mentioned earlier, too, like, I feel like that's a great way to hold each other accountable. A lot of people these days really disagree with that ideology too, because like it's my money, it's your money kind of thing like that. And I've never, like we live in a world, and I even used to think this way too, was that like we have to have a prenuptial agreement or something like that. And like my philosophy on all that stuff has changed. If you need in my opinion, if you need a prenuptial agreement when you like each other, like, to me, that means, like, you're scared that something's going to happen one day. Like, that to me, that's your plan B. That's a plan B. It's like, oh, I'm safe if I have a prenuptial agreement.
I feel like it would also be different if we had, like, millions and millions of dollars, which we obviously don't.
Right. Like, if
so
you're
that
making,
would be, like, a totally different scale. But for the average person.
If you're making $30,000 a year and I'm making $2.6 million, then maybe it's a little bit better understanding to make sure that you're just not getting it for nefarious reasons.
Yes.
But if we're both making roughly the same amount of income and you get accustomed to living in it, like, let's say, just for easiness of numbers, but let's say that together we make $100,000 a year, right? Just for ease of numbers. It's not what we actually make, just, I wish it was, but let's say we make $100,000 a year, right? But let's say 40,000 of it is you and 60,000 of it is me. It's like, you get used to living $100,000 a year divided by two people lifestyle, right? Like, to me, when I love you, when I'm, happy you're my wife and everything like that, you deserve that. So it's like, in my opinion, I need to do everything to make sure that I keep it to where you deserve that. So to me, I have to put my work in just like you have to put your work in. Mm-hmm. It's a both kind of efforts thing. And if we were to ever get divorced or anything like that, and, everyone takes half at that point, it's like, to me, you're, in my mind, you would be right to have half of that, or, you know what I mean? Like, because you got used to that. because of us being married. So, you know, and I say that from a point of loving you and like from being married to you. So my goal is to make sure it never changes from that point of view. So
it's not like necessarily like once you're in marriage. Well, yeah, I guess it could be, but I feel like a lot of people just start off with that thought process. Or they're like, oh, I'll keep, like, I remember, like, for me, it was, like, my car. You mentioned once, like, putting my car under both of our names. I was like, absolutely not.
yeah.
Because to me, in my head, it was, like, that's, like, the only thing that in this entire relationship is mine.
Mm-hmm.
If shit hits the fan, like, I at least can sleep in my car. Like,
Yeah, you can't sell my car.
yeah. But very quickly, I was like, wait. Nothing's gonna happen. Like, we're in this together. If it's his car, it's my car. Like, it's 50-50. Like, it is what it is. But it's like very like subtle and very quick for you to get into that, like,
Protected myself. Yeah. And two, I mean, we've been together for a long time too, so like trust has been something that we have been building for a long time, and like I trust that, you know, I have given you enough rope to where you could either hang yourself with it or you could, like, you know, do great things with it, and vice versa. And so, like, you know, technically either one of us could ruin the other person if we wanted to, but we don't. That, like, we both have good intentions, and you know, newer couples, obviously they should keep their stuff separate until you get, like, you know, married, because once you have married, that's like a legally binding contract that's saying, like, you know, you guys are committed to each other financially and everything. You guys went from, you know, 2 separate taxable entities to 1 taxable entity. So from a government standpoint, that's how dudes look at it. But I think it's so important that you guys look everything as like a team, and like that we don't look at stuff from an individual view anymore. Like, I know that if you're with some people or anything like that, like, you're going to defend me and our relationship and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
That's a big one. Just, we can say that for a whole another podcast. Like, talking down about your significant other to other people.
It's important to do.
Like, no, it's not. Like, there's like venting, and then there's like, I'm going to make my significant other look horrendous.
Yeah.
And that is such an ugly thing.
Yeah. Venting is definitely one thing, but like, you're my favorite person on this earth, so like, I could never
like, I have some friends that will, like, it's just bad.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's we're very lucky that you and I work so hard on our relationship too, because I know that, you know, it's easy for us to say like what we think is good because we have, in my opinion, such a rock solid relationship, but it's because we work so hard at it too. So
going back to like that trust thing that you said, growing up, my mom used to always tell me, like, because obviously, like, as a parent, you want to trust your kids, but at the same time they're stupid, so you're like, hey, like, listen here. She used to always tell me, like, trust is like your credit card. Once you make one bad payment, it damages your score. The more mistakes you make, the worse it gets, and it's going to take a lot of time, because you don't just bounce back from a bad credit score. It takes tons of time and tons of effort for you to get that back to even close to where it was. So that just shows that, like, your actions are what's going to determine whether the other person kind of, like, you've never given me a reason to feel like, oh, well, if we, like, put all our eggs in one basket, like, you're going to try to, like, control me, or I'm not going to have, like, my freedom or anything like that. It's always been like, I still get to do what I want within reason. You still get to do what you want within reason. But we all know that at the end of the day, like, everything we bring to the table is for the family. Yep.
Yeah. And, you know, the way I understand it, and the one that the phrase that I use to help, same kind of thing with trust is like a, you know, like there's like an emotional bank account. You're either making withdrawals or deposits. It's better to make deposits into the bank account than to overdraw. And so many people emotionally are overdrawn. You know what I mean? And we focus so much on making, you know, emotional deposits. You know, just going on walks. That was kind of like what our date night podcast was that we did. And I focus so much on that because, like, there's no other option. There is no other option. I will literally live in a vehicle with you if that's what it takes. I would rather have less things in my life and have you, because that's the most important thing, than the opposite way. Like, I would sell everything. There's no material possession I'd rather have than you. You know what I mean? Like no collection of material possessions. I would rather be poor in our relationship and, you know, defeated and, you know, like living on the side of the road begging for money than to live in a mansion by myself.
Yep, that's always been like a thing for me, like mend and make do mentality. Like you have what you have, you make the best of what you have. Yes, we could be making hundreds and thousands of dollars and live like extremely comfortable, but what do you have to sacrifice for that? Your time, your mental health.
Well, I mean, how many like great businessmen have been like super successful and wealthy, and they could buy whatever boat they want and do whatever they want. But then the hardest thing for them to have is this, you know, solid relationship and a partner and everything like that. Like, I don't know. I feel like this is the hardest thing to do and it's the most fulfilling thing to have is a good relationship. So, you know,
like I'd rather have to sacrifice luxuries and have more time with you than have you working till 8-9 o'clock or on the weekends just to make extra money. Like to me, that's not worth the sacrifice.
Imagine if we were like on a date going on like a walk or something like that, and I'm like, oh, I gotta take this call.
Like I would.
Oh, we gotta take this call. Yeah, literally, it would get so old so quick, and it's like, hey, like you can make a little less money and be okay. That's the other thing too. I think as far as Plan B goes, like there's no Plan B for our relationship because like like going back to that being poor mentality is like I could live on nothing. I am not scared of like any financial situation because I'm prepared to live with nothing because I know we'll make do. I know it. Like I'm not scared at all. If I had to sell like everything we've ever owned and move in with my parents or move in with my grandparents or I mean freaking live in a shelter. Like I am mentally, obviously, do I want to do those things? Obviously not.
No,
but I would freaking take it on the chin like a freaking like adult and just let it happen. And as long as I have the most important thing, which is our relationship, then that would be, you know, the ideal.
I feel like another thing is just like your mentality on things. Like I feel like a lot of people, and it's so easy because sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this situation is going to stress me out, is like having that scarcity mindset where you just like constantly feel like you don't have enough. And that just brings like fear and stress and everything into your relationship. And I feel like we have gotten pretty good at not doing that. Like
gratitude.
At the end of the day, we'll have enough to cover everything.
Yeah, the gratitude mindset too. I mean, you know, there's a social media thing that happens where you can see everyone having all these great nice things. Oh, this guy's got this, you know, super nice vehicle, and this person over here has, you know, all of the, like for me, I like Milwaukee tools. They're expensive, but like, you know, you'll see these people that have like an entire like enclosed trailer just full of Milwaukee tools, like thousands and thousands of dollars, or just seeing somebody that has a shit ton of really expensive, nice tools. And like, it could be easy to get jealous of something like that, but it's like, it doesn't matter what the brand of tool is if it all does the same job. Like we're talking about minute differences. Like there's people, like we always joke, me and my buddies joke about Ryobi tools. It's like a super cheap brand and they're like terrible. They break all the time, all that. And still there are people that skill wise will use Ryobi's tools and and what they're making will turn out better than somebody who has really nice tools. Just because they put the effort into it. That was the thing, and this kind of goes into the idea of, I mean, if you think about what not choosing, you know, not having a plan B is making that all your effort goes to plan A, all your effort. And the reason I think that's important, have you ever, we talked about how we saw something the other day where it was like, I think it was on Andrew Huberman posted it, and it was like a study they did. He's a neuroscientist, and so he studies like the brain and how the brain works. And he said that, and I'm paraphrasing, that when you take kids and they do a good job on something and you respond in one of two ways. The first way is you like, oh, you're so smart. You're so intelligent. You like bestow, when you say that thing, you're like bestowing them on like, you're just this thing. You're just this thing. Or the adverse of that is the second option is you say, you tried so hard, or you put in so much effort. I'm so proud of you for trying as hard as you did, or doing as much as you did. And they said that like when you like retest those same kids, the kids who were told about how much effort they put in and praised for the amount of effort they put in, did like exponentially better than the kids that were told they were just smart. You know what I mean? Like they were just gifted with this thing. Because the thing that's so important isn't whether you're great at something, it's how much effort you put into being good at it.
And effort's attractive. Like, if you're constantly trying in every single situation we're in to make the best of it, to like do the best for us, that's an attractive quality versus if I see you like on the couch doing nothing, like a lot of people do. Like, that is so ugly to me.
Yeah, I'd be riding life to the rev limiter, dude.
Sometimes I'm like, okay, you need to slow down.
Yeah.
But
can you just go for a walk with me and chill? And I'm like, well, no, I've got so many things to do.
that's me, actually.
Both
like,
of us.
It's an attractive quality to have. Like, I get so fed up with like all of these. I sound like I'm 100 years old. I get so fed up with all of these like kids nowadays that don't try. Like, the act of like even giving a shit about anything.
Well, that's teenagers. We were the same way.
Yeah, but it's like, pretend to care about something.
Yeah.
Like, you can care. You can give an effort.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not cool to care.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the idea that, like, society as a whole has created this, like, oh, if you act like you're too cool for school or, like, you just don't give a shit about anything, like, that makes you, like, a cool person. Like, it doesn't.
It's cool to take pride in your work. It really is. It's cool to take pride in your work and what you do and, you know, do everything you do with a passion. So, like, to me, when you talk about, like, there's no plan B, like, plan A gets 100% of the effort. That's it. There's no other, you know, relationship that I'm investing in. It is our relationship or bust. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of speeches I've heard from, like, you know, successful people will say the same thing. They're like, you know, like, the one that sticks out to me in my mind for some reason, just because it was so intense, you probably don't know. There's a guy named LeVar Ball. He has 3 boys. He's very obnoxious, but this one speech he had where he was being interviewed by somebody, and his goal was to have all 3 of his sons play on the LA Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers, which is a basketball team, at the same time. And they were like, you know, that's a very audacious goal, right? To have all 3 of your kids in the NBA, in that of itself is insanely hard. Now, to have them all on one of the most prestigious basketball teams in all of basketball at the same time is insane. But one of the interviewers asked him, in one of the interviews he did, he was asked, you know, like, is there a plan B? Like, what happens if all 3 of them don't get on to the Lakers? Like, what do you, like, do you have like a second best? And he goes, why? Like, no, because if I have a plan B, it's getting 10 to 20% of my effort. He goes, no, we're 100% doing this. There is no other option. This is the only option. Like, we're not, and like, I still don't think, I mean, obviously I haven't paid too much attention to them in the more recent years. I think one of the sons got changed, but like, that's kind of the option of, like, worst case scenario, like, they're still going to do okay. Like, so I think 2 of their kids play in the NBA, maybe 3.
I have a problem with that mentality. Like, not the effort, like, I get that, but I have a problem with, like, parents using their kids for their dreams.
That
whole concept, like, I can't get behind, but I get what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I was more speaking on the fact of, like, that's his going 100% towards that goal. Do I think he was being a little bit crazy and stuff too? But you also, you know, there's something about a parent that has high expectations for their kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's like, your kid's its own person.
But here's the fine line between that difference too, is if they don't succeed in that goal you have, you still have to be proud of what they did accomplish. Because, like, even if all 3 of that guy's kids did not end up on the Lakers, I think 2 out of the 3 of them are in the NBA, maybe 3. I can't remember if the middle son got into the NBA or not, but he was definitely a high quality basketball player. He might have got injured or something like that. But, like, I'm sure he's probably still proud of his kids for doing that. I mean, but that's the difference too, is like, you still have to be proud of your kids for everything they do.
I feel like parents that have that high expectation of their children, like, there is no I don't know. I have a problem with
You
that
can-
mentality, but that's
but you can do both. I mean, like when we have kids, we've talked about like how we're gonna have high expectations for them.
Yeah, but we're gonna lead by example.
We're gonna not only are we gonna lead by example, but we're also gonna still be proud of our kids for the like. Your kid can fail and you can still be proud of them for the amount of effort they put in. That's the difference. That's like that significant difference between the two. It's like, hey, we don't, the goal was to all of us to end up on the Lakers and we didn't do that. But we're all like, if 2 out of the 3 of us are playing in the NBA, like that's pretty fucking spectacular. Do you realize like the statistical like probability that you're going to end up in the NBA, how small that is, let alone 2 out of the 3 of your kids?
Yeah, I get that, but I'm saying
I'm just saying he could still be proud. I don't know this family specifically what they're doing.
This is not even related to the topic. I just got off on a tangent about not agreeing with that mentality. Yeah,
but it's that's the difference is what I'm saying though. Is you can still be like, we're 100% into this, and like we're still proud of what we have done, even if we haven't accomplished that goal.
To me, it's like we do jujitsu. We love jujitsu, but I'm not going to expect my kid to do jujitsu if it doesn't want to do it.
Right.
Like it can try it,
right?
And if it generally doesn't like what it's
we just want whatever.
Find another hobby.
We just want whatever they do, them to do 100% effort. That's it.
Yep.
I don't give a fuck if it's underwater basket weaving. They better be the goddamn best. They better put it, and they don't even have to be the best. They just have to put 100% effort in, and they better love it. That's all I want.
I feel like some people have like really weird hobbies, but when they're telling you about them, like it's like the most fascinating thing to them, and that makes it like cool to listen to.
Yeah. Well, like I'm not a big art person. Like, I don't like art very much, but like Steve, when he comes on and he like shows us his like,
he's so good.
Yeah. But just that kind of stuff. Like it almost is like, I started to like it because of like what he does, just following him and seeing it. And like,
and that dude is a badass. He has like a wife. He works. He does the
like what, 4 or 5 kids or something like that. Yeah,
regular 9 to 5. The whole thing.
He does not have regular 9 to 5.
Well, similar, whatever.
He works 3 days a week. Yeah.
Oh well, whatever. He still works.
He works like 13-hour shifts.
Has 5 kids?
Something like that.
And he's like posting at like 12 o'clock at night. Like he's getting after his paintings. Yeah. Like that is
he's consistent with it. Yep.
That's an awesome quality.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway from this podcast, from my point of view, is that like there's no plan B, because all of your effort should be going to plan A. Plan A being our relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And that's it. There's no other relationship I'm investing in. Like there's no material thing that I want. Like I literally would give up all of my hobbies. I would give up everything that I love in this world because I would put you first before all of them.
Correct. And I feel like after for me personally, after the initial dating phase, like once I've realized like, okay, you have proven that like, because also I'm not the kind of person that's like, I'm going to solely trust someone just because they're nice to me. Like you need to earn your trust, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I feel like after the initial like dating period, once you like know who they are as a person and don't see any red flags, like you should just go full in. I feel like a lot of people still continue to like hold back, and that's like
we should talk about the stages of our relationship for a podcast. That'd be cool. Like the
like time I broke up with you.
Yeah, stuff. Yeah, very early on. We could talk about that one day, but we do have to end this because we have to start getting ready.
Okay.
All right. So all effort, plan A, no plan B. All right. Bye everyone. Thank you for doing this. We'll see you next week. We'll come up with another one next week. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
This episode of Somehow We're Adults is over, but if you'd like to support the podcast, you can subscribe to one of the levels of the Patreon, where we will release bonus episodes that can't be found anywhere else. Any of the money that we get from the Patreon would be used to upgrade old equipment, as well as get new gear so that we can make the best podcast for you to tune into. You can also follow the podcast Instagram at Somehow We're Adults, where I share clips and content about the podcast, and the link in the bio will take you to any of the Somehow We're Adults pages. I encourage you to check out another one of the episodes if this is your first time listening, and if you're a repeat listener, thank you for your support. I love making the podcast, and I hope you tune in for future episodes of Somehow We're Adults.